to my channel, ASMR Molly Pelly. If you like my videos, please like and subscribe to my channel. We are going to be continuing with After Hello. After Hello. And I want to be doing like a soft whisper, soft spoken, to maybe like an audible whisper. I know a lot of you have told me that you're really getting into the story. That's making me so happy. I love this book. So I want you to be able to understand what I'm saying. Okay. So yeah, let's just get right into it. So we are on chapter 17, okay? Sara, chapter 17. I laughed. I couldn't help it. The look on Sam's face had been priceless. His eyes had opened so wide and his eyebrows had drawn together so fast, he'd looked like a cartoon character. His mouth had even dropped open enough that I could see the tops of his teeth. He'd been acting weird the last couple of hours, running hot and cold. Sometimes he was fun and friendly, and our conversation was the same, but then he'd brought up all that talk about emotions and God and stuff. The topic seemed to be important to him, and I felt like maybe he was really trying to tell me something else, but I wasn't sure I understood. What I had understood, though, was that the playing card tied to the tree, the Ace of Hearts, that meant we were supposed to head east, so I did. And the part of me that thrilled at the thought of running through the glorious park didn't hesitate for a moment to accept the invitation to change direction. I laughed again, this time for the sheer joy of taking flight across the green grass. Took all my negative emotions of the day, my memories of my mom, my frustration with my dad, Sam's weirdness, Piper's threat, and pushed them out of my mind. I turned my face to the light and closed my eyes for a brief moment, relishing the sense of freedom that filled me. Then my foot slipped and I squeaked. I flung my arms out, trying to regain my balance. A hand reached out to steady me. I squeaked again, laughing. Sam, no, let go. But it wasn't Sam who had grabbed my arm. He had the thickest, brightest, most fire engine red hair I had ever seen. Below that was a face lined with wear and weather. His hazel brown eyes were framed with smile lines and a thick pair of black-rimmed glasses. He wore a white shirt with the words "Aces Wild" printed across the front and a pair of tattered jeans with a hole in the left knee. He was barefoot in the grass. He had to be at least 60 years old, but he still looked lean and fit. "Are you Aces?" I gasped, stumbling over my feet as I tried to stay upright. "The one and only. I see you followed the cards and found your way. Thus, you have earned the right to ask what you may." "What?" Aces chuckled. "Not the best question, I suppose, but I am obligated to answer it as best as I can." "I don't understand," I managed, my chest heaving as I tried to catch my breath. "Clearly," he clapped his hands around my shoulders and set me on my feet. "Hey, Aces," Sam said, coming up to join us. His breath came short and he ran a hand through his hair. I noticed that Sam's silver chain had come free during the chase, and what appeared to be a pair of dog tags rested on his chest, along with another silver circle I didn't recognize. "Samuel." Aces inclined his head like a reigning king. "Samuel," I echoed, looking over at Sam. He waved away my question and kept his attention on Aces. "Daniel sent us. He said you had some new art." "I see. And I do. And I create. Yes, indeed I do." I stepped back from Aces so Sam was closer to him than I was. The old man seemed nice enough, but he was a little strange. "The Three of us stood in silence for a moment. I edged even closer to Sam. "May we see it?" he finally asked. "Your art? What will you give me in return?" He leveled a gnarled finger at Sam. "And no sugar packets." Sam held up his hands in surrender. "Wouldn't dream of it." He lifted the flap of his bag and rummaged through the hidden contents. He held up a small plastic bottle. "What about an unopened jar of red paint?" Aces looked horrified. "You would threaten me with an unopened jar of possibilities? That is not a trade. That is a burden. Take it away." "Okay." Sam and I exchanged a glance. I thought paint for an artist would have been the perfect choice. And what was Sam doing with a jar of paint in his bag anyway? Sam dove back into his bag and withdrew a white envelope, similar to the one he had given Jess at 24 frames. "Movie tickets? Bah." Aces shook his head. "I have no interest in dreaming other men's dreams." Again, Sam and I exchanged a glance. "What about a pair of socks?" he asked with hesitation in his voice. I raised an eyebrow at Sam. "You have socks in your bag?" "You have socks in your bag," Aces repeated in delight. He held out his hand. "Produce." Sam handed over a pair of brand new Christmas-themed socks, complete with 2 small jingle bells sewn along the top edge. Aces studied the bells carefully, then examined the reindeers stitched along the sides before counting the individual toes on each sock. "I find these socks to be acceptable. Come with me." I stifled a giggle. I couldn't help it. The whole situation suddenly struck me as slightly unreal. I was standing in Central Park in New York City, bartering Christmas socks with a potentially crazy man, in order to see if his original artwork would appease the ridiculous demands of mega superstar Piper Kincaid, or else the brother of the boy I kinda sorta liked would lose his job. "Sara?" Sam warned under his breath. "Sorry," I managed. Another giggle surfaced, and I barely managed to turn it into a cough. I didn't want to offend Aces, who was clearly everything that had been promised, a true original. But now that the laughter had hold of me, I could feel my resolve slipping away. Aces led us deeper into the park and literally off the beaten path, pushing past bushes and branches. "I thought you said he was an oil painter," I said, sucking in a breath as a particularly sharp thorn scratched my arm. "He was," Sam replied, worried. A few minutes later, we reached a small patch of grass where a red, white, and blue striped blanket had been spread out into a perfect square. Sitting on the blanket was a picnic basket containing a porcelain Dalmatian dog and a stuffed black cat, a carved wooden bird had been clipped to the side of the basket. Lined up in a row leading to the basket was a parade of plastic Green Army men. The last man held a miniature American flag instead of a gun. The entire thing had been cordoned off, with bright yellow caution tape spread on the grass. Asa stood tall and proud, gesturing to the blanket. "Behold," he declared, "my latest work of art." It was so amazing and absurd at the same time that I couldn't contain my amusement. Giggles poured out of me like bubbles, each sound lighter and louder than the last, until I was engaged in a full-fledged belly laugh. Tears ran down my cheeks from the corners of my eyes. "Sara," Sam hissed, "stop it." Aces turned to regard me with his hazel eyes, a strange expression on his face. "Sara!" But Sam's tone only made me laugh even more. My laughter spent itself in one last burst before finally dribbling into short chuckles and then into bemused silence. I used the hem of my shirt to dab away the last of my tears. "Oh, wow. Oh, man, I'm sorry. I don't know what got into me." I had to force myself not to look at the picnic blanket. I didn't want to risk collapsing into laughter again. I'm sorry too, Aces. Sam began. No, it's all right, Aces said, his attention still on me. Art should always produce some kind of visceral reaction, and laughter is as good as revulsion. He frowned for a moment, then smiled widely. Better, actually. Okay, I think I'm better now, I said, clearing my throat and squaring my shoulders. I pulled my hair back with both hands, smoothing it over my head, then shook out my fingers. Okay. Sam glanced at me as if to make sure I was telling the truth, then cleared his own throat. Aces, do you by chance have any other artwork you could show us? Something like you used to do, something on canvas? As Ace's lips creased in displeasure and his eyes narrowed, Sam hurried on. I mean, not that this piece isn't amazing, because it is. It's just that we're looking for something you can hang on a wall, and well, you'd have to admit this would be a little difficult to frame. Beads of sweat dotted his forehead by the time he was done speaking. Ace's displeasure morphed into sadness. Art should be alive, three-dimensional. I no longer work in a medium that requires my vision to be flat and lifeless, good only to be trapped under glass like a dead insect. He tucked the Christmas socks into the waistband of his pants. Thank you for the socks, but this is all I have to give you. My good humor folded in on itself. We had struck out yet again. I was starting to worry that we might not be able to fulfill Piper's demands. And if not, then this day would end in disaster. I couldn't let that happen. Are you sure? I asked Aces. I mean, you don't have anything else you could show us? We really need something original and special. It's important. Aces folded his arms across his chest and peered down his nose at me. At first, I thought I had made him mad, like Sam had, but then I saw the sparkle in his eyes and the hint of a smile on his lips. Ah, but for you, cheerful sprite, I still owe you an answer to your question. What? I asked, pulled off track by the apparent change in topic. Exactly. I looked to Sam confused. Just go with it, he whispered in my ear. Aces crossed to his art installment, stepped carefully over the yellow tape, and reached into the basket. Returning to us, I saw that he was cradling something in his hands. He nodded to me, and I cupped my hands below his. The answer, O lady of laughter, O damsel of delight, O girl of the giggles, is passion. He opened his hands, and a stream of glittering red beads poured into my palms. Passion is what makes the world go round. Passion is what drives us to be better than we are. Passion is what makes our emotions, whether love or hate or laughter, ignite and blaze into life. The last bead fell onto the pile with a soft click. Without warning, Aces grabbed my shoulders and pulled me to him. He kissed me on both cheeks in quick succession. Passion is the answer to your question. Remember it. Then he kissed my forehead as though searing the word into my brain. When he released me, I stumbled backward, but Sam was there to steady me with a hand on my arm. I will, I said to Aces, and I meant it. Aces turned to Sam. When next you see Daniel, tell him hello for me, will you? As we turned away, I dumped the beads into my bag. They slithered and shook past the other contents with a sound like falling rain. Sam and I were silent as we made our way through the park, heading back toward the main hallway, or walkway. I had so many questions I wanted to ask him about his dog tags, about Aces, and his artwork, and about what we should do next, but he seemed absorbed in his thoughts. I didn't dare interrupt him. We reached the path, and I stepped up onto the road. I turned my mouth open to break the silence and say his name, and that's when the bike ran over me. What do you think? Should we continue? Let me see. I do going to read one more chapter. And then I'll leave you on a cliffhanger. Sam, chapter 18. He came out of nowhere. It happened so fast. She didn't even have time to scream. Later, when Sam had time to review the events and the courage to examine them up close, that was what he kept coming back to, her silence. One minute, Sara was on her feet, her sandy blonde hair shifting as her head turned toward him. Her mouth open, her eyes were as green as the trees around her. He could almost hear his unspoken name on her lips. The next minute, she was down, fallen into a crumpled heap at his feet. Her bag slipped from her shoulder, a few red beads scattering and bumping down the path like frozen, isolated drops of blood. Oh, my tummy's making noise. That's when he saw the real blood welling up from her scraped-up knee, staining her blue jeans black. Sam froze. He didn't breathe. He didn't blink. He didn't move. The bicyclist screeched to a stop a few paces away. Dropping his bike, he ran back to Sara's side, ripping off his helmet and his gloves. He crashed to his knees next to her. "Hey, are you okay? I'm sorry, I didn't even see you." Sam closed his eyes, the words echoing loud in his mind, in his memory. He could feel his fingers trembling, sweat lined the back of his neck. Hey you, don't just stand there, come help me." The guy's voice rattled Sam back to reality. He blinked and saw a small crowd had gathered at the scene of the accident. He told his body to move, to go to Sara and help her, but all his joints felt disconnected. Nothing in his body seemed to work properly. The biker crouched next to Sara, supporting her back as she struggled to sit up. "It's okay," she said over and over. I'm okay, I'm not hurt." Sam couldn't stop looking at the blood. Another scratch was oozing blood down by her ankle, soaking through the hem of her jeans, turning her white socks first pink, then red. "Yes, you are," Biker Man said, his hands hovering over her leg. "Looks like you're scraped up pretty bad. Are you hurt anywhere else?" Sara started to shake her head, then stopped, wincing in pain. "Here, can you follow my finger?" Bike Man moved his index finger in a slow pass in front of her eyes. Like so. "Good. Okay, that's good." "My hands hurt," Sara whimpered. Biker Man touched her wrists and turned her palms face up. The heels of her hands were scraped and scuffed. He made a frustrated noise in the back of his throat. "Not as bad as your knee, but still." He fumbled in the pack at his waist and pulled out his cell phone. "Oh, you don't have to call anyone," Sara said, trying to smile through a grimace. "I'll be fine, honest." Sam finally moved. "She's right. You don't have to call anyone. I have a first aid kit." Biker Man lowered his phone, frowning in doubt. "Really?" "Yeah, I bet he really does," Sara said, hissing a breath between her teeth. "He has everything in that bag of his." Sam thought he knew the exact placement of everything in his bag, but he couldn't seem to find the first aid kit. No, not again. The thought came unbidden, though he knew exactly where it had come from and why. Biker Man shook his head. "She needs help. I'm calling. If you do, I'll say it was your fault." Sam blurted out, still frantically searching for the bandages. They were in there somewhere. He knew it. They had to be. "It was my fault," Biker Man said. "No, it was my fault," Sara said. "I was on the road." "I'll say you did it on purpose," Sam barked. A dark heat had seized his heart. The edges of his vision wavered with black spots. "I'll say you saw her and you ran her down anyway." "What? Why would you say that? Chill, man. It was an accident." "No, it wasn't. It was your fault. You even said so," Sam shouted, his head pounded with two different images. It was hard to tell which one was the real one and which one was the memory. His fingers found the kit and he yanked it out of the bag with unexpected force. "Here, I'll do it. I can take care of her." The crowd had slipped away, the few pedestrians in the area clearly unwilling to get involved in an ugly confrontation between strangers. Sam, Sara said, calm down. He jabbed a finger at Biker Man. Get away from her. Biker Man hesitated. He looked down at Sara. You okay? She nodded. You sure? She nodded again. Who is this guy anyway? Sara's green eyes met Sam's brown ones. Sam held his breath and wondered what she would say. He's my friend. Okay, Biker Man said, if you're sure. We're friends, she said again, her voice strong and firm. Aren't we, Sam? He felt tears burn in his eyes, but he forced them not to fall. It was all he could do to nod. Fine, then she's all yours, man, Biker Man said, leaning back and rocking to his feet. I'm all right, she said again. You don't have to stay. It was just an accident, a couple of Band-Aids and some Tylenol, and I'll be back on my feet in no time. Promise. I didn't dent your bike, did I? Sam knelt by her side and cracked open the kit. His hands shook. He hoped Sara wouldn't notice. Biker Man's mouth quirked in a wary smile. No, you didn't. He took a step away. Are you sure you... Go, Sam snapped. Just go. You don't need to be here. You aren't wanted here. I can take care of her. I can fix this. I can. I will. He muttered the last few words under his breath. Again, Biker Man looked to Sara for permission. She mouthed the word go, but softened it with a smile. He picked up his helmet and his gloves, clearly unhappy at being sent away, and wheeled his bike down the path. After a few steps, he jogged back and set down a water bottle next to Sara's hand. At least take this. You'll want to wash out those scrapes. Thanks, Sara said. I will. Biker Man left for good, and then it was just Sam and Sara alone on the pathway. The wind blew through the high trees. Sam sorted through the kit with hurried fingers, sorting and discarding and choosing what to use. Bandages, gotta have those. Gauze, might help stop the bleeding. What else? What else could you do to save her? Scissors, yes, he'd need those to cut her out of. He curled his fingers into a fist, concentrating on steadying his breathing and his heart rate. Now was not the time to panic, not yet. Now was not the place to break down, not yet. You're going to be okay, Alice, he promised. He said, I promise. His voice caught, but he didn't stop. Just hold on, okay? Just stay with me. Sam? He ripped open one bandage and reached for another. It's going to be okay. Help is on the way. Sam. No, don't talk. Sam. Her voice cut through the noise that filled his head with static. The sound of a siren in the distance, the sound of metal screeching in protest, the sound of wind sighing down a dark highway. She touched his hand, her fingers warm. He hadn't realized how bad the quake had been until her touch stilled the aftershocks. He looked down at where they had made contact. The polished dog tags swung free in the space between them. St. Christopher looked up at him from the circular medallion with unforgiving silver eyes. Sam, Sara's voice was gentle and soft. Who's Alice? We're going to stop there for tonight. I'm excited to continue this with you guys. I hope you're all enjoying it. Be sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Bye, guys.